So get into Super Bowl contenders. At number five, I gotta go with the Detroit Lions. They were on the doorstep of a Super Bowl appearance last year. I think there were just lapses in coaching at the worst possible times. But Detroit had that game won against San Francisco. They were doing whatever they wanted, but in the end, they gave San Francisco just too much life at critical moments in time. I thought there were some fourth downs that they shouldn't have gone for. They should have kicked the field goal, took the points in that situation. Although Detroit has been true to who they are all season long, they've gone for it on fourth down more than once, and they've been successful because they stay true to who they are. And that in that NFC Championship game, you look back and it's like, well, maybe they should have took the points. Well, if they got those fourth downs and converted, well, it's probably a different game anyway. But I don't expect Detroit to lose a step at all. I don't expect them to lose any kind of steam. In fact, I think they'll be better than they were last year. So I'm expecting Detroit to definitely be in the mix there when we're talking about contending in the NFC and potentially getting to the Super Bowl. At number four, I have to go with, and I really had to think about this. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still kind of thinking about it. And you know what? I gotta say, surprisingly, the LA Rams. The Rams are that team that you look at them and it's like, eh. But then at the end of the year, they're right in it. Stafford still has a lot left. He's already won a Super Bowl championship, so he knows what he's doing in the playoffs. You got Puka Nakua coming back. You got Demarcus Robinson coming back. You got Kyron Williams in the backfield. The only question that the Rams really have to answer is on the defensive side of the ball because now that Hall of Fame defensive tackle Aaron Donald has retired, who's going to fill that void, and how is that defense going to look? But I think the offense for the Rams is going to be better than people realize. I think this team is going to be better than people realize. They may not win the NFC West versus the 49ers, but I think they're going to be one of those wild card teams that you have to look out for in the playoffs where this will not be an easy out and they can potentially steal some wins in the playoffs and find themselves in the NFC Championship. I think the ceiling is pretty high for the Rams still, even with Matthew Stafford in the twilight of his career with maybe 1 or 2 good years left in him. At number three, the aforementioned San Francisco 49ers. They've been on the doorstep of a Super Bowl championship for it feels like 5 years now. That core is still there. George Kittle, Brock Purdy, Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey. We don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk. My guess is it wouldn't shock me if Ayuk came back for just this season and then he walks in free agency. But you still got Greenlaw on the defensive side of the ball. You still got Ward. You still got all those offensive weapons that I mentioned. You still got Kyle Shanahan calling plays. The 49ers are going to be right there. I mean, don't be surprised if they win the NFC West again and get that number one seed in the NFC, and they make their way possibly to the NFC Championship game again at the very least, potentially another Super Bowl appearance because they're just too good. And Trent Williams on the offensive line, it's definitely a team that you cannot ignore. They've more than shown you that when you do that, you end up being wrong. Number two, the Baltimore Ravens. Let's call it what it is. They were just in the AFC Championship game against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. By all accounts, the Ravens were a better team than the Chiefs. They just did not stick to who they were. They decided to just run the ball only 6 times. That played right into the hands of Kansas City, and it came down to the quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson made too many mistakes. He had the fumble, he had the interception, trying to force it into triple coverage, and Patrick Mahomes did not make mistakes. That was the game right there. Also, not running the football. It was a collective effort to do what they could to not win that game versus what Kansas City did so well. Now Kansas City is going to be a little different. Baltimore is a little bit different. A lot of people there's been a lot of talk about with the addition of Derrick Henry that the Ravens didn't really need Derrick Henry. They could always run the football. Well, here's the difference. The Ravens have been really a running game by committee. They use Lamar Jackson, they use Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill, the rotating running backs that we've had over the years. There hasn't really been a bona fide finishing number one running back like Derrick Henry since Jamal Lewis. I got to think that's probably the last guy I remember where it's like, this is the guy, the workhorse that you feed over and over again to seal the deal when it comes to holding leads, protecting leads, and all that. The Ravens 3 losses last year, they were all blown leads. They could have easily gone 16-0 over the course of last season, but they blew those leads because they either stopped running the football, didn't really have a finisher, or relied too much on Lamar Jackson to be the leading rusher for his team once again. Getting Derrick Henry tells me that Lamar should not lead this team in rushing yards next season, which I would love. I want our running back to lead the team in rushing. Getting Derrick Henry means we get a finisher, we get a Jamal Lewis type, a bruiser, a guy that can really start chewing up clock when we have those leads and really got to seal the deal in a lot of games. The Ravens have. I don't see why the Ravens can't get back to the AFC Championship. I don't see why they can't beat Kansas City and get back to the Super Bowl. I believe in Lamar Jackson still, even though everyone wants to talk about the playoff record over and over again ad nauseum. Yeah, we get it. He's 2-4 in the playoffs. He's 1-4 against Patrick Mahomes. Like, what else you want to throw at me? This guy's a 2-time league MVP for a reason. He has won over 75% of his starts since he's been in the NFL. This man has what it takes to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. The Ravens just have to go and finish it. But for me, I don't see why they can't at least get back to the AFC Championship doorstep and get to the Super Bowl. So I'm listing the Ravens as my number 2 contender. And number 1, Kansas City Chiefs, obviously. Two-time defending Super Bowl champions. Everyone's talking about they could potentially be the first team ever to three-peat. They got Patrick Mahomes potentially shooting his shot at being the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. That includes the great Tom Brady with 7 championships. They got better, actually, via the draft and also by free agency. They signed Hollywood Marquise Brown. They drafted Xavier Worthy out of Texas. The guy's been described as faster than Tyreek Hill. That's pretty scary. So you think about what this team was last year, leading the league in drop passes. Their best receiver was probably Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Kadarius Toney. Well, now you add Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy. They just got faster, and they might have got a little more dangerous on offense. Travis Kelce's still there, still a decent offensive line. Isaiah Pacheco running the football. Got Chris Jones back there leading the good defense with Kansas City, which really carried them a lot last season. But the equalizer is having number 15 back there at quarterback. He's just been that special. He's just been that guy. He's been Tom Brady of this generation after Tom Brady. He is the guy that everyone is looking to take down. And until someone does it, you can't not have Kansas City number 1 for your Super Bowl contenders.